Tonight on Need to Know, it's been called everything from an experiment to a project. But now that a 5-year partnership between East High and the University of Rochester has been renewed, what's next? Or rather, what should be next? Some graduating seniors have a few final thoughts. We'll hear from them and their faithful leader. That's next. Also on the show, if you happen to have an idea that would make Rochester more awesome, there may be some no-strings-attached funding to help launch that idea. But here's the criteria. It has to be awesome. Interested? Well, that story is later on the show. Don't go anywhere. Need to Know starts right now. Five years ago, the saying East High lives was like a mantra of sorts for students, teachers, and community members desperate to keep the doors open at the century-old school. Fast forward 5 years and a new mantra is starting to circulate. Today, it's more common to hear all in at East when discussing the school that's been under a microscope since its partnership with the University of Rochester launched 4 years ago. But to what degree does all in include the student voice and perspective? Here's what we learned after visiting the school throughout the past several months. Take a look.
So we've shifted from kind of world poverty to now our country.
In this journalism class, high school students at East are taking a deep dive into examining wealth inequality in America.
Real change comes from the community. Real change comes from people.
But they're not just learning about the nature of the issue.
We're learning about problem solving and how you can solve problems around the world, issues in your community. And it's a cool thing because I feel like people don't really think about that much. They don't think about the problems that go around them all the time.
Ironically, it wasn't that long ago when East itself was considered to be a major problem in Rochester. Persistently low achievement rates at the school prompted the state education department to step in.
State Ed directed the district to adopt a new plan for East, a plan intended to turn the school around.
The chosen plan, implemented in 2015, has been called everything from an experiment to a project. But at its core, it's a partnership in name and practice between the University of Rochester and East. A partnership that looks like it's working.
I don't want to see surface level thinking. I want you to go deeper.
In short, attendance has gone up. Suspensions and dropouts have declined, and the graduation rate has nearly doubled from 33% before the partnership to 61% in 2018. Superintendent of East, Sean Nelms, says aside from the stats, there's another significant improvement.
I think the most important, impactful thing that happened at East, I think between years 1 and now year 4, is that the ownership is internal instead of external, meaning that this is no longer a school board's initiative or U of R initiative. This is the initiative of every student in the building, every staff member in the building, every parent who sends their child here. They own this building.
While the notion of ownership sounds nice, seniors Wilson Rivera and Tania Gaines say it's true.
I think anybody could change anything here as long as they speak up. Because students are important to the school. Without the students, it's pointless.
A lot of students have a lot of good ideas of ways things could change. So I think if they go to someone that they know can change it, then their voice will be heard.
World poverty overall has been improved. In certain countries, it's actually gotten worse.
Making their voices heard is exactly what they're learning to do in Liz Conroy's journalism class.
Charities, all they tend to do is just throw money at the problem without actually solving it.
Students in the course are also the reporters for the Eagle Express, the school paper at East. Conroy explains it's a vehicle for helping students learn the principles of journalism, problem solving, and advocacy.
One of the huge tenets of the U of R has been this idea of advocacy. It's built into our mission statement, students advocating for themselves and others. And this journalism class is a really nice platform for them to be able to really advocate for changing things they think need changing.
And changes they have made. An article about the less than appetizing menu in the school cafeteria led to new food options in early 2019. And a story by Tania Gaines about a lack of communication around senior activities prompted the launch of a more efficient communication tool for senior events and meetings.
There were a couple articles that got a lot of heat because students had some opinions about teachers using cell phones, even though, their cell phones were taken away. So, they were kind of calling out some of the injustices they saw, and I think that really gave them a lot of power to realize that their writing wasn't just writing for an assignment, but that people were listening, and it had impact.
Both Rivera and Gaines are college-bound in the fall. Rivera will be heading to RIT, and Gaines, the first in her family to go to college, will be entering Buffalo State. But before they go, they've got a couple suggestions they'd like to see implemented for future East students.
They're gonna start offering more dual credit classes. And I think that's really important because with an AP, it's a good class, but it's not, you won't know if you get the college credit. It all depends on a test.
I would say more of career opportunities, things they can get involved in outside of just college, because everybody doesn't want to go to college.
I hope you're using support periods to your advantage and getting the help that you need, because that's why it was designed.
Like many things, positive change takes time. And fixing a fractured system takes patience, resources, and an opportunity for every voice involved to be heard. According to some students, East is on its way.
In May, the Rochester City School Board voted to extend the partnership between East and the U of R for another 5 years. So how does this extended partnership benefit students, teachers, and other Rochester City schools? And with its share of gains, why does East have its share of critics? Joining me at the desk to discuss this and much more is Superintendent of East, Sean Nelms. Welcome back. It's good to have you here.
It's good to be here.
So was there any doubt that the school board would vote to renew that partnership between East and the U of R for another 5 years?
Well, I think there's always a question if what we're doing aligns with the overall plan of the district. And the district has been in transition. I mean, this will be our 5th superintendent in our 4 years throughout this partnership. And so it's always it's always a question of, does the plan match the vision of the school board? I think what wound up happening in year 4 is that the plan matched the vision of the community. And once the community owned this project, I think the board did the wise thing, and that was to listen to those who they represent, who were screaming for an opportunity to recreate and redesign schooling for all Rochester students, starting with this project at East High School.
I would think that considering the immense monetary investment, of this partnership, I would think board members and even folks from central office would be visiting East on a somewhat regular basis just to learn from and see, talk with students, talk with teachers, see what's working, what's not, and that sort of a thing. Does that happen? Are you seeing that board members and district officials are coming in to kind of soak in what's taking place?
Well, I would say that for the board members who have attended and have participated in our events or to learn more, they are championing the work at East because they see it firsthand. They see the theory and practice aligning for students and families. Some of our critics are those who have not set foot into East, or they've had their own negative experiences with RCSD, and so they assume that failure is the only option. And so for those individuals, it takes some convincing that if you give students and staff the right resources and structures so they can be successful, not only can they be successful, there are lessons to be learned that could be shared in other places. I will say that the last 4 years we fought hard to get a true collaborative environment between us and RCSD, and unfortunately that has not happened as well as it should. But the interim superintendent right now, Dale Loengard, and his team have been very open and collaborative. I left a meeting this morning where we were sharing our research around chronic absenteeism and how we've impacted our students and families and giving them an opportunity to come to school and re-engage authentically, even for those students who are overage and undercredited. And so that's just an example that with the current administration and hopefully with the new superintendent coming in, that we can truly do what this plan was intended to do, and that was to share effective practices and to learn from one another. And I think we have a lot to share and a lot to learn from RCSD as well.
Yeah. You mentioned for the board members who have come to visit, does that mean that some board members have not?
Yeah, I think that's a fair statement, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So one common complaint that I hear about this partnership is that it's too expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
according to state data, the per pupil rate for students at East is nearly double that of
Mm-hmm.
students at every other Rochester City school. So first I want to ask you, is that data correct? Is the state data correct?
Right.
And if it is, how do you justify that higher per pupil rate for people who would say, don't all of our students deserve
Right.
to have that same amount?
So I would say a couple of things. One is that the data that you're referring to is data that's on a proposed budget or projected budget. It's not the actual expenditures. So the governor actually passed legislation to have schools report out on the actual expenses. And so for our per pupil allocation, there are items in that we don't utilize. For example, the superintendent for the district was added into our budget as a line item. Some of the resources from downtown, like professional development, their center was added into our line item. We have our own professional development at East. And so what the district did is took the overall dollar amount, divided it evenly, and then sent it to the state. And that calculation is never intended to be a per pupil allocation. Just to extend that conversation, at East, there were 3 major initiatives prior to the U of R's investment that poured in millions of dollars to change. One was called the Teacher Incentive Fund, another was School Improvement Grant, and Small Learning Communities. Millions of dollars poured into the school with little to no results. Ironically, no one questioned how that money was utilized and or its effectiveness. And I just find it somewhat discerning that when you give students, particularly kids who have been underserved in a school community, an opportunity to have a valuable education, that the conversation shifts from their successes to the resources that was used to make them be successful. And I would say that if it costs triple the amount to have kids graduating from high school, then we should do that. But the intent of the investment up front was to change a school that had a graduation rate trending towards 19%. So the dollars that we spent has gone to hiring 11 reading teachers, having adequate number of social workers and counselors, creating partnerships with mental health agencies in the community. And so to mitigate all of the trauma that these kids experience, not just outside of school, but within the school system, you had to invest in it. And I would say that, 5 years from now, that investment may not be necessary. But I'm not ashamed of the money that's been spent there. And I would argue that had the school system been focused on the whole child in the beginning, then the EPO would not even exist. And so spending the dollars to give kids the right social emotional support, to allow them to catch up in reading and math, and to get them on a trajectory towards college and career, I think is money well spent. And we had to recreate the entire system. There are other schools in Rochester that may not need such an extensive overhaul. And so they should be over there learning from us and us learning from them to see what elements from this partnership can we use.
Let's
to
talk
improve
about that,
instruction.
the elements that can be used, because I know when I visited the school and I've talked with you about this, you said a big highlight has been the fact that teachers develop their own curriculum. And the idea is really for that curriculum to be shared throughout the district. It's something that you've shared in suburban districts and in places all around the country. So talk about how sharing that can really be of benefit, be a service to our city school teachers.
Absolutely. So, so curriculum, for those not in education know, is actually, it's a roadmap. And so it defines what teachers should be teaching year to year, what they should be teaching within the course of a year in a particular unit or lesson. And without that roadmap, teachers are left to do it on their own. And so imagine a first-year teacher coming out of college with no idea about the content, being thrown in a classroom and being expected to focus on creating curriculum and content, learning about family and community engagement, and connecting with students. That's just too much for any teacher to do. And so we spent the vast majority of our money, years 1 through 4, having our East teachers work with consultants to build an authentic curriculum that represents our students. There are critical figures in the Black and brown community that are highlighted, illustrated throughout the curriculum. There are connections to the local history, local economy. I mean, so curriculum creates the platform in which it allows the superintendent to say to any parent, if your child enters 6th grade and they leave in 12th grade, I can guarantee that them and any other child in 6th grade will have a similar experience for those years. And right now, the Rochester City School District does not have a viable curriculum. And so this investment up front will allow all teachers throughout the district, grades 6 through 12 at least at this point, to have a roadmap for success. This is something that every teacher has access to. We've made that public to the school district, and I'm excited that under this new leadership that it's being seriously considered and will start to be implemented this summer in some locations throughout RCSD.
I think describing it as a roadmap is an incredibly helpful way for people who don't understand it, because that's exactly what it is.
And I also think that adds to the financial investment. So people may think that the money is going to individuals in terms of just lining the pockets of teachers or administrators. This is like creating a platform that will be used for years and that can be revised for years. And to have an outside agency or company do that same work would cost millions and millions of dollars.
Before we close, you mentioned leadership, and you're excited about the fact that we will see that new leader very soon in the Rochester City School District. So reflecting on your relationships with current and prior superintendents, what do you hope to do the same and differently with the new superintendent coming in when it comes to East?
Well, I think the difference will be that the current interim superintendent has already created the narrative that East is not the enemy, that we are here to work together. And so I'm excited about Superintendent Day coming in. Hopefully he and I can coordinate and collaborate on many initiatives. I'm here to support him. I'm here to support all students. I am not the competition as I was kind of leveraged in the beginning. So I'm just excited to really do the work of kids and to not make this about adults, but really anchor into what our kids and families need and our staff need to be successful.
We have to close for now, but first, a special thank you to my guest, Sean Nelms, Superintendent of East High School, and congratulations to you on the accomplishments being made at your school. You can learn more about the work being done through the East University of Rochester partnership by following along on our website, wxxinews.org. Creating a self-generating culture of awesomeness is the simple yet profound mission of the Awesome Foundation Rochester chapter. The local branch of this global community gives $1,000 at a time in the form of microgrants to advance a wide range of projects and initiatives spearheaded by Rochester residents, intended to make all of us fall in love with our city and, of course, recognize its awesomeness. Here to explain how it works and the light it's hoping to shine on Rochester is Jill Freeman, Dean of the Awesome Foundation Rochester chapter, grant recipient Barry Nobles, creator of the Backyard Lander, and grant recipient Joe DiFiore, youth and family engagement specialist for Common Ground Health and one of the leaders behind Complete Streets Makeover. Welcome to all of you. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
So Jill, I can remember when I first had an opportunity to meet you and you told me about this foundation, and I did a double take because I could not believe that something like this existed, especially this concept of a no strings attached grant. So tell me really, what is the Awesome Foundation and what is its mission at its core?
Simply, we forward the interest of Awesome $1,000 at a time. We are a group of about 12 of us here in Rochester. We heard about this international community. It's not even a nonprofit. It's just a bunch of volunteers who love their communities wherever they are and decide to pool their money and give it away to people doing great things. So it's as simple as that.
What, in terms of what you're looking for, what's a good fit? We'll get to talk to these two gentlemen about their projects, but tell me about some of the things that you would say, this is ideal, and you know what, this wouldn't necessarily fit.
Anything that really makes you go, huh, that's awesome, that makes you smile, that increases joy, that spreads happiness. We love Rochester, we love our community, and we think there really should be more little stories and pockets of hope and joy spreading moments. So anything that says, that's going to spread some joy, that's going to make people smile. And these two gentlemen had some great projects that did that. So.
Well, before Barry and Joe, before we get into your projects, I want you to tell me, what do you love about Rochester? Like, what are aspects of this community that you would say, you know what, this really goes under the radar, but these are awesome things that people should know about? Obviously, your projects are included, and we'll get to that in a minute, but just in general, generally speaking.
Well, probably it's the mix of industry and arts. You know, I think that excites me. You know, you have the history of Kodak, and then you also have, you know, great creators in the area.
Joe, what about you?
I think Rochester is a really great, understated social scene, whereas once you tap into it, there's enough going on any given night where at least I feel like I have 3, 4, 5 different things I really want to attend, and the hardest part is choosing between them. And so it's really about the culture and the people and that social network for me that really makes it a place where I want to live. And I actually found that through my travels of other places. And coming back to visit Rochester, I found that it had a lot more to offer than I realized when I was younger growing up here, which really drew me back.
So what led both of you, or I guess I should say, how did you find out about the Awesome Project? And when you learned about it, I don't know if you did the double take like I did, in terms of the minimal criteria in a good way. Tell me a little bit about like how you found out about it and what made you apply.
Well, I think I maybe heard about it from Calvin Eaton over 540 West Main, the Community there. He might have posted something about it, and it was really exciting for me to see something like that because there's not a lot of low barrier funding opportunities out there, especially for startup groups or groups that aren't not-for-profits or just want to do a one-off. A lot of it has some pretty cumbersome application process and then reporting process tied to it, even for small amounts like $1,000. So just to have something that's low barrier and you can say, here's a one-page application, real quick, takes 20, 30 minutes to fill out. You get an up or down, yes or no vote from some regular people, and then they help make it happen. And it's literally like, here's the money, do it, make it awesome, and it's just really great and freeing. So I mean, I highly, anyone who hasn't heard of it, hopefully they're hearing of it now and they'll check it out.
Well, for me, it was something I was just going to do myself. It was going to be kind of a personal project. And then when I saw a thing on the Facebook about the Awesome Foundation, my wife says, "Man, that's a perfect fit for what you're doing." So it kind of led me to apply. And I think for me, it was having somebody else say, "Hey, that really is something that's going to interest people." Yeah. And at that point, I looked at it and says, "Hey, how can I get this out in the community a little bit more and tell the story of the moon landing 50 years ago?"
Right. So let's talk about that because obviously your project is of historic significance in July. So how did you decide to do this, and in what ways do you think that the Backyard Lander, as you're known, why do you think that this is something good for Rochester? How do you hope that it impacts this community?
Well, how I got started, in 3rd grade, my teacher gave me a sticker. Her father worked on the lunar lander for Grumman and really got me interested in science and technology. From there, it kind of got me where I was going, involved at Harris Corporation and robotics and all that stuff like that. So I think it's a nice fit. There's a lot of people of my generation that remember the moon landing. But a lot of the younger kids, they think of SpaceX or the shuttle or things like that. So I think it's going to get it out there and kind of retell the story, because it is a great story.
Yeah. Something that Joe in particular mentioned, Joe, was this low, like the barrier wasn't too intense. So, which is very intentional. Explain why that is.
I think, honestly, we just need more love and trust. We give people a check for $1,000 and that's it. We wish them well. We don't ask for a report. We'd love some pictures afterwards. But it's really just giving people an opportunity to try something, to create something that spreads some happiness and not worry so much about all the paperwork because it's really not necessary for this small of an amount. And again, there's no nonprofit structure, so why would we need to create extra paperwork? We just want these people to do something great, and it's worked. I mean, it's fantastic.
And how are projects like both of theirs and others funded?
Besides the Awesome Foundation?
Yeah, and where does the money come from, I should say?
Oh, from the Awesome Foundation, the trustees. So we each pool our money every month. We pitch in Rochester chapter, we do about $50 a month. Every other month we give $1,000, and we're slowly building up our trustee board, and maybe we'll start giving away more, towards every month. We'll see. We're getting there. But we have a lot of interest, and we have a lot of great projects coming through the pipeline, so hopefully others will join in and fund some fun things in their neighborhoods.
Well, Joe, talk to me about your microgrant, which helped with the installation of the complete street makeover at the intersection of Parcells and Greeley. Tell me a little bit about how this concept evolved and the type of, we're talking big word impact here, the impact you wanted it to have on that neighborhood.
Yeah, so the Complete Streets Makeover is really a concept coming out of Reconnect Rochester in collaboration with Common Ground Health, the City of Rochester, and Stantec design firm. And so the idea was they put out this call for people to nominate different intersections that they thought were dangerous. And we nominated Parcells and Greeley, and it was chosen. And we kind of then, once we were in, we were like, well, we're going to make this big. We're going to do even bigger than what they imagined. So we did that this previous fall, and then we wanted to reboot it because we didn't get all the elements that we wanted to put in. We wanted to put in speed cushions, curb extensions, and have it a really nice mural. So we were able to re-inaugurate that. And what's great about having the Awesome Foundation involved this time around is we were able to give it that extra boost in the arm by hiring DJ Dorian Lander Hall. We had some youth organizers from Teen Empowerment come out and do spoken word. We had tons of fun entertainment come out, do airbrush tattoos. Pikachu made an appearance. 441 Ministries was able to cook food that we purchased with the money, and various other things. And so we had hundreds of people come out. And the community really bought into this idea of this investment and making it their own. And now Reconnect and the other partners are doing it again over on North Clinton and outside La Marqueta. So they were just announced that they selected that to do a complete streets makeover over on North Clinton. And so we're hoping they can learn from what we've done. Maybe they'll apply for an awesome grant to do something over there. But the idea is to make it a model so people can take ownership of traffic calming, making the streets more complete, more inclusive, and also hopefully get the city to expand upon their partnership and say, hey, we're going to make it easier for other neighborhoods to do it, because we know that traffic calming and speeding cars in our neighborhood is a huge issue.
That community engagement aspect is a big thing for you as well, because I know that you're taking what you've done and your work to places like the Rochester Museum and Science Center and so on. Do you find that a lot of the projects that are being funded have that? It's not just about creating something. There's a level of engagement, such as both of these examples.
Of course, I mean, that's a big point of it, is we don't want to just, help one individual do something wonderful as that person may be. We want to spread this. We want to kind of create a contagion of awesomeness in Rochester, and also help just change the narrative of the amazing, wonderful, creative people in town. So it's better if some of the projects have the ability to spread. So we definitely look for that in each of our applications.
What's coming up for you in July?
Oh, I have a lot coming up. I'm going to be doing a couple library events, like you said, the RMSC. I think it's really going to be getting out there and going places. Originally, I was going to build a full-size lander, but I said, boy, if I build it that big, I'll never be able to transport it. So that's one of my keys, is making it something I can take around into the community.
Very good. Well, unfortunately, we are out of time and have to close. But before we go, if you have an idea for a project that will spread joy or incite curiosity, apply for a grant with the Awesome Foundation. You can learn more at theawesomefoundation.org. Just be sure to go to the Rochester chapter site. And that wraps up another edition of Need to Know, Rochester's news magazine. I'm your host, Helene Bianduti Hofer. Thank you for joining me tonight and throughout the weekend here on WXXI TV. Have a great night.